And here we go. Welcome, everybody to BioBridge. It's that time of the week. It is Monday, but it's nowhere near blue for me. It's a fun time. I love this little moment where I can talk to my best buddy Ibrahim. Him who's in town. Welcome, Ibrahim,
Hello.
to my neck of the woods.
I'm up in Montreal, but I have to make a plan to see you. Like
There
you're
you
what,
go.
30 minutes, 40 minutes from here,
I'm
right?
about an hour away.
Hour away.
But then we
Me,
also have our
yeah.
very special guest, Zain from Tokyo. He's actually in Tokyo, so much further.
Osaka, right?
Osaka?
Osaka, yeah.
Oh my
Osaka.
goodness. All right. Well, it's still much closer to Tokyo than Montreal.
Geographically, yeah, that's true.
All right. All right. Well,
Welcome, Zain.
welcome. Then a good,
Thank you for having me.
I guess, a common connection between myself and Ibrahim. So very happy to have you today. You have been in Japan for a few years, and you have tremendous experience in the Japanese market and the global market. So we thought we'd have you on, and let's talk some cross cultural business development or any type of business, I guess, topics today. Are you ready, Zane?
Absolutely. I mean, I love business development. I feel like this episode's been a long time coming as well. Like I've known Ibrahim for a while, and then I've seen you online quite a bit, Tetsu. So I'm kind of glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Great to have you.
Yeah, we've only met a few weeks ago, but it's not how long we know each other. It's really about our vision, the way we think about problems, and then our vectors align. And I think we definitely are in terms of bridging the gap between Japan and the rest of the world.
Completely agree with that. So
Definitely.
yeah, I met Zain like what it's been like more than a few months, but after we first talked, like by the second conversation, we were like almost best friends. So
I know it feels like I've known you for years, Ibrahim, despite
right?
only.
I know that's
So,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Oh,
So
stop
like
it. He's
like
my
like you
friend.
said.
It's a weird
That's okay.
popularity contest.
Yeah, I
All
know.
right. So
Like
before
Tetsu said, it's not about how long you know someone. It's like what commonalities are.
speaking of commonality, you guys do have a leg on me. I know that Zain and Ibrahim have some common roots, but Zain, tell us about yourself before we get into the business nitty gritty.
Sure. Just give you a really brief overview. British born and raised, but I'm Pakistani, just like Ibrahim. I was born in the UK in Manchester. Did all my studying there. I was quite interested in medical science and whatnot. Got into oncology. Realized that I didn't want to go into academia, and kind of, I guess, escaped to Japan for 1 year.
1 year?
1 year, yeah, 1 year became six, and
Always.
yeah,
How
figured
many
out my
times
life.
have you heard that before?
So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of business development, focusing on Japanese markets, US markets, and I guess my oncology background really does help with negotiation, deal making, and business development because I feel like I can relate not just on a scientific front, but I guess also on a cultural front as well. Being Pakistani, sure, I'm not Japanese, but I do understand there's a pretty significant cultural difference between Japan and the US or the UK, for example. So yeah, that's me. Lovely to meet you. That's what I'm all about.
And tell us, you're also part of like Bio Kansai or Bio
Ah,
Ventures. Yeah.
yeah. So over like the past 3 or so years, as I've gotten more and more deeply embedded in the healthcare market in Japan, um, I've just had a really good opportunity and been really lucky to just meet the right people. So that's led to collaboration with like Osaka University, Kyoto University, speaking to some really I guess senior people in those universities, and also really like young and bright minds trying to create novel therapies. Due to that work, I somehow find myself getting elected as an advisor with BioCommunity Kansai. So BioCK is a,
The
I guess.
community. I've got questions, but anyways.
So yeah, please ask. Please do ask. In terms of BioCK, they're a Japanese government-led body with the sole purpose of fostering a positive and growing ecosystem in the Japanese biotech sphere. They work with a lot of universities, young professors, and they're quite holistically fostering like a growth environment for Japanese biotech. And then my own company, Green Stuff Life Sciences, we're completely about that too. So a lot of synergy there.
Very cool.
All in all, how many years now in Japan?
6 years in Japan. This year will be my 6th. Quite a while.
Man, you picked up Japanese pretty well in that time.
そうですね。ギリ日本語も話せますが、時々敬語は少し難しくなります。
Very nice.
素晴らしい。素晴らしい。All right. So bio Kansai is community. You said it's government funded or government organized.
Yeah, it's government affiliated.
Affiliated. Yeah, there's one in I think Fukuoka, Tokyo. They each all these prefectures they have like Yamanashi and Yamagata.
Right.
I think all these different places, and I wanted to get connected to these communities. Obviously, I will be going to Japan next month. I've finally got my events down. Now I'm starting with Osaka actually.
Nice.
There's a few things happening in Osaka, and you're actually giving a talk, I believe, right?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I'll be giving a small panel speech at Expo. I think there's like a startup kind of panel going on just to help. Just to help biotech and I guess startups figure out the Japanese market a bit. So that'll be fun for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I'll be going to those events before I go into Tokyo, more around 19th, September 19th. And anyways, I've got a few events to go to, even one in Korea, and then it's a big event that's Bio Japan. That's October 8 to 10 in Yokohama. So anyways, my main purpose is basically business development. I've got quite a few companies here in the U.S., Canada, that I could introduce to the Japanese ecosystem, and then sort of test out like the appetite of the Japanese market, whether it's pharma or VCs, and so I brought you on to teach me about how to approach Japanese business development and what are the differences with North American or maybe European
or any Western.
Yeah. So let's start from some basics. I hear that the deal sizes is significantly different. What's your experience on that? What kind of do you see?
I think if we're comparing Japanese market to US market, for example, yes, for many different reasons, deal size is quite modest compared to the global market. If we're looking at, I don't know, a few like recent examples, that's like Kyowa Kirin and Bridge Bio, that was about 100 million USD upfront. I think for the Japanese market, that's quite big, but when you look at it on the global scale, perhaps might not feel that big. Ibrahim's like shaking his head like, that's not that big. He knows more than me, but yeah.
Ibrahim's got that in his back pocket, so
change.
Some change.
I thought that would be the case. Another one would be Kyowa Kirin and AM Pharma, for example. That was only 20 million euros up front, and then another 225 given in milestones.
So that's Kyowa Kirin again?
Yeah, with AM Pharma.
Oh, yeah, okay. They're pretty active. Is it just me? I do hear about them quite a bit.
I mean, if I give you like a Japanese market insight, I think Kyowa is just a really solid pharma maker. Like I think they just do the work. They're quite savvy. They understand that they have to globalize. That's my impression of them.
Yeah, I two of the guys, one from Japan and one from the UK at Bio this past June.
Nice.
I was waiting in line for lunch, and just so happens there, and I said, "Hey, while we're waiting, how about I give you my card?" And then one thing led to another. We had a great discussion. That was fun.
That's awesome,
guys.
In terms of like global deals, I think any of the deals that like Takeda, Stellis, or Daiichi Sankyo are making are like much bigger. But these are companies that have been playing in the global market for a while. I actually wanted to ask Ibrahim because I think he's significantly more knowledgeable about these things than me. So what's your insight, Ibrahim?
Yeah, no, I think you're right on in terms of like these deal sizes. When you mentioned like 100 million, 200 million, these are like biotech size deals, not big pharma size deals. You know, nowadays you're talking about deals that are happening, especially in this environment. Seems like they're, you know, 500 million or more.
Right.
And that's not even total value. We're talking, these are like upfront at times.
Right.
Like you're looking at Sanofi and, you know, Merck and all these deals, they're, you know, more than billion. So in terms of size. So, you know, if you're saying a deal was like 100 million and with milestones total 225 or whatnot, those are like, you know, phase one or phase two assets
Right.
that we're talking about in the US or globally even. You know.
So yeah, I think go for it. That's
No, I was gonna say. I mean, upfront is one thing, but total deal size is another. And
Yeah.
also, I'm hearing because of the current environment, the companies are delaying like the upfronts and trying to
Definitely.
push that back as much as possible. Sometimes it's like no upfront and
Yeah, a lot of milestone deals are happening right now. You know, which makes sense. Actually, you know, if you saw my posts, it seems on LinkedIn, I've been posting some deals and things that are occurring, but you know, perhaps the milestone base, you have to realize that there's actually a lot of ongoing relationships that you have to maintain.
right.
If you if you base a lot of your deals on milestones, because you're constantly having to manage that project onwards as far as compared to just upfront and or acquiring altogether.
deep.
I think that's, how do you say, probably in line with what I've been seeing like in the Japanese market too, Ibrahim. I think, you know, in Japan it's all a lot more relationship based as well. So maybe for the more global or Japan and US deals, perhaps the Japanese would feel even more comfortable with that milestone basis, just because it keeps the relationship going too. I think the culture out here is a lot less transactional or a lot less fast paced. So that might also be one reason for like the milestone based deal making.
Also risk averse, right? Risk
Yeah.
appetite is so much lower. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is it because of risk aversion, or is it really a cultural thing? Yeah, it's probably both.
It's both, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's kind of like a, you know, those overlapping diagrams, of like three Venn diagrams, right? And that's what I'm looking for, with like current political climate in the States affecting healthcare globally, Japanese business culture being very people focused, and then the third one, as Ibrahim said, just risk aversion, right? I think these three do lead to this kind of milestone environment.
So, because of this relationship aspect, what I hear a lot from folks here is it's slow.
Yep.
Working with a Japanese company, it's slow. Why is that? And what can you do about that?
I mean, this is pretty anecdotal, but when I first got into like the healthcare industry and recruitment specifically, you know, I had like no business connections. It was really hard to make any kind of meaningful traction as well. As the wins come in and as the jiseki come in, it gets a lot easier. People start to know about you. I think, you know, business in Japan is often done face to face or over a series of meetings. And I think in the West, we're a lot more used to, you know, hopping on a Zoom call, just laying out what we're all about, trying to figure out what the other person is about and seeing if we can help each other. That really doesn't work in Japan for most companies that I've worked with. It's more about, you know, doing it like Junbandori, like somehow you snag a meeting with this executive. The sole purpose of that meeting is to, you know, introduce your company, learn more about their company, perhaps try and learn a bit about their pain points as well. But you really don't push. I think in Japan, a consultative approach and a really conservative approach goes a long way. If you can show like a little bit of patience, that's probably really going to enhance your business relationship. It's just, I think in the West, most people just want action, which is a really good way of business, but that translates quite poorly in Japan in most cases.
And then tell me about the settings of these meetings. Are they all in the office or?
No, not at all. Of course, they might start in the office, but what I found in my career is oftentimes any of the deals that I'm working or any of the conversations where there's a lot of money involved, it's normally a one-on-one conversation with the decision maker in that company, and we normally go for like dinner or drinks. We don't even talk about the deal or any business. I'll give you a good example, but I think once I was sat across this very distinguished, like ex-Takeda HRBP. He went from scientist to HRBP in his own biotech company. We spent like 2 hours talking about like life, horror movies, whether we had any like horror movie recommendations and stuff. And then just towards the end of the night, after we've had many drinks, it was just 2 lines of like, all right, saying how much is it, wrote down a number, and then he was like, cool. Next day, got an email, deal done. So I think what I'm noticing in Japan, especially in Kansai perhaps, is that human element is really important. But to me, 6 years in Japan, it now makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. It's not just the product. Like you're also a product, basically.
Yeah.
They're assessing you as in, are you in it for the long run? Are you in it for mutual benefits? They're assessing that
Right.
from the minute you walk into that room and meeting them for the first time. Are you showing, you know, are you showing respect? It's not just like the best. Everybody has the best.
Right.
product.
Right.
Anyway, when you're doing the pitch, uh, but what they're looking at the person, and you represent your company. Obviously, you're the face of the company, and the whole reputation of the company's like on your shoulders during these 30 minutes or 1 hour that you're there.
Definitely. And just building on that as well, one thing I've noticed is I was taught this like very early on when I entered the healthcare market, and every day, I go out into the field, I work, I meet these people. It just rings home more and more true. Is that the company name or the company brand kind of gets you through the door, but every business action, consultation, or conversation you have after that, it's all you and your individual brand. And so I think you have to be, especially in Japan, but I think this is a good business lesson overall. You have to be highly conscious of how you approach carrying out your business, how well informed you are, and the pace at which you set your business to, which again, Japan versus US is very different.
How long did it take for you to figure this out? Like, when did you first feel like you got it?
I think, all right, so we're 8 months into 2025. Perhaps, I think end of last year.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, quite
5
recently.
years.
Yeah, 5 years.
But what were you before that? Like at every, like what would you tell your past Zane, like, oh, Zane, don't do this or this or this? What are the three things you tell your past self not to do?
I think when I first got into the industry, I was too salesy.
Okay.
Before I even entered the meeting, I already had an agenda down. I knew what I wanted from the meeting. And looking back, probably I was trying to shove my own agenda down these businessmen and women's throats. And that's not really the right way to approach any kind of deal making. So that would be one, be a lot less salesy. Number two would be make them feel like they're heard and you understand their pain points. Regardless of like what business context you're in, the most important thing outside of the details of that transaction is how you make that person feel during the conversation. Because long after that, business conversation is done, long after the contracts and the deal short side ironed out, that person is going to remember that interaction and how you made them feel. So if that's a positive experience and quite different from every other person in BD, every other person in sales, or any kind of deal making, you're really going to stand out. And then the third one would be fail many times, fail fast and fail hard, because you learn really quickly from that.
Okay, I think this third one is maybe not so Japanese, I guess.
Right.
Japanese are very risk averse, very conservative, so they they want to try as much as possible to make it perfect the first time, and
Right.
so they will, and that's sort of one of the reasons why they take more time.
Yeah.
Every decision goes up lots of chains of command before it actually gets executed.
Right.
Precisely because the smallest imperfections has a reputational consequence.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what at least that's what they feel. It's like I was working in the CRO industry in Japan. When you translate a protocol from English to Japanese, like the sponsor's Japanese affiliate, that's Bayer or whatever, Novartis. So these big guys, they have their Japanese affiliate. They will look at that, that translation word for word, all the I's and T's, except the grammar. All that is really, really, really important to get perfect, because they're sending that outwards, right, to the sites. These are investigators who will be reading this, and so it's crazy. It's not like you go to India, you do like, 30, 40 languages, slap a certificate on it, it's out. Slapping the certificate on it is only the first step after the translation. It's after that they've got layers and layers of QC to make absolutely sure that that protocol is perfect. It's got its pros and cons. Japan is known for quality, regardless of industry, but it's also known for inefficiencies, I should say. For that quality, let's say 200% quality. I mean, 200% effort for maybe 120% quality.
Or results.
Right? Yeah. That's sort of how I see it. It's how much are you putting to put into it for that quality. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes I think it's not, and it's changing. I think reality is catching up with everybody. Countries that are low on quality are learning that they need quality. Countries like Japan are learning to get the best bang for the buck kind of mentality. And I think it's changing at a very fast pace. So it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
But despite that, though, the cost of development in Japan is lower, right?
Aha. Now you're hitting a great point. Why? Why is the quality going down?
You tell us.
I mean, I think if we just step away from biotech for a second, the yen is just really weak and it continues to plummet, right? So I think just purely economics, that's probably the biggest reason. Cost of living is a lot lower in Japan as well, relative to like every other country in the world. And it kind of creates this investment bubble where I think people living in Japan might struggle to live a higher quality of life outside of Japan when they leave the country, for example, because of the discrepancy in salaries. But in terms of, I think, any biotech, any investor looking for the next opportunity, I think Japan is the place to go, because you have this really rare scenario of, world-class top quality in any area of biotech or healthcare.
At this price.
At an incredibly low price. And this also aligns with, everything I've seen in the market. I do both JP and US, and my understanding is that a lot of investment at US is like, especially in biotech, is coming to a standstill.
Yep.
Investors are only really looking at companies where clinical data is present. If you're not in that phase, you're not considered, is my understanding. And I think, no, go for it, Tetsu.
No, pretty close. I think so, yeah. Especially pharma and
right.
VCs, they have to go a little earlier, but still, I think it's very tight.
Especially nowadays, yeah.
Right. And I think if that's the case in the American market, I'd always advise, investing in the Japanese market, perhaps, or looking into the Japanese market. There are a load of people who are like, bicultural or have lived in Japan a long time and have like Western affiliations, like myself, like Ibrahim, like yourself, Tetsu, who can really navigate this market. And I think it does take someone who's native in both cultures, or at least understands both cultures, to navigate this market.
Yes. I mean, it's a great mountain to climb, but it's better if you have a Sherpa with you to show you where.
I really like that. Sherpa, that's a good one.
I mean, you can try, right? You can try. But you hit the point right on. I think the yen, the double whammy of the yen crashing, and also very little inflation in Japan, which has been going on since the 90s, right? Three plus decades of no inflation and a little bit during the pandemic.
Right.
And that sets you back quite a lot in terms of cost of living. It's good for folks coming in, and they, they're breaking record after record for tourism. Like, like I'm sure you all have, folks who are from outside going, "Hey, I want to go to Japan. I want to go skiing. I want to do this or do that." Like, now I get so much of those that I just copy paste what I sent the first person. Copy paste, copy paste. All the places I'm going. So indeed, and I tell people you're getting, first world science for third world prices almost. It really is that low. I'm sitting on some of these bid defenses with global, let's say talk study vendors.
Right.
Like one is like 1.5 million in the US, and then in Japan you've got these companies offering the same thing. They have an in-house interpreter. They have all these documentations for pre-FDA, top-notch stuff.
Right.
Like literally half. So it's you just got to know. Wow. And I find it's unfortunate. We've talked about this a little bit, Ibrahim, and I, in past sessions. I feel it's unfortunate that Japan is not automatically in people's minds like it used to in the early 2000s, when global studies were just beginning, and then rather than doing a bridging study in Japan, people were trying to fit Japan into the pivotal study. That was like the time I was running clinical studies in the late 2000s to mid 2010s. And nowadays it's like it's all these small companies, these biotechs, and these guys coming up with a new chemical entity. So they have zero bandwidth to deal with a country like Japan. So that's why it's sort of kind of slowly faded away. But it's coming back, right? It's coming back. There's lots of government attention to this problem, the most famous drug loss problem in Japan, and the drug less problem that I call. Basically Japan's not producing new chemical entities internally, so there's like big government funds from AMED, which is like the NIH of Japan, right? AMED, it's handing out money like crazy.
I work with AMED, and they're doing honestly great things.
Nice.
I think any AMED affiliated VC, once they invest in a biotech in Japan, AMED will match that investment, which I think is incredible.
It's amazing.
Zain, how about I'm going to shift it a little bit, if that's okay.
Of course.
Sure.
What advice do you have for Japanese companies trying to go to the US? Like, because we're always, I think we have a tendency whenever we have people connected to Japan, it's like, this is how you deal with Japanese people. But I would also want advice for Japanese people to be like, this is how you deal with Western business. What can they do better?
I think this is something that I feel quite strongly about. And I might irritate a few people by being a bit too straightforward about this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think the Japanese way of occurring business works really well in Japan. It's a high context culture. However, this does not translate very well in America, for example. I've spoken to many different parties involved in healthcare, especially in like the investment, M&A, and BD front, going from like investors, mega pharma individuals, business development individuals, and then VCs as well. And there's just one really common pattern in these scenarios. Oftentimes, top-level Japanese biotech will head to Bio, for example, in Boston, look for investment. They'll shake a few hands, have a few really nice conversations. And from the Japanese perspective, they think they've done a really successful job. Great BD, start of a relationship. From the American perspective or the Western perspective, it's just a handshake and a hello, no real progress with business. And it's because the two parties involved are reading the scenario completely differently. What I would advise, Japanese healthcare professionals going to the West for investment is either, and I don't necessarily suggest doing this, but take a few coaching lessons, learn the art of the deal and how to negotiate aggressively in the West, because that aggression, or at least assertive negotiation or fast-paced negotiation, is going to go really far. But
loving this.
I mean, that is one solution. I'd call that an A-tier solution. But in this, I have my own agenda as well, where I know Japan is incredibly talent short right now, and the country has this massive potential in healthcare to become a world-class leader once more and regain a lot of market share. But to do that, they're going to need highly skilled immigrants and people who can speak Japanese to a good level to come into the country to prop up its population again. So my advice would be, if you want to navigate these events well and get exactly what you want from these events in terms of business and commerce, is to work with a foreign person who understands your Japanese culture and what you want, but is also comfortable negotiating to a native level in American methods or British methods or European methods. So, foreigners or Japanese people who are well versed in both cultures will probably really easily help you to navigate these deals, create real momentum, and actually come off a lot richer in terms of connections and business momentum. So that's my advice. Use people like the three of us who can navigate both worlds to make your life easier for you.
That's a great way to blow our own horns. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yes.
Sorry, shameless self.
No, I mean I think you're right on. When you first said Japan is lacking in talent, I thought you were thinking about like the scientists and the
No,
the tech guys, but that's not the point. It's really a more overall business savviness. I think that's missing in Japan.
Yeah.
And you said this word a few times, and I'm fully in alignment. It's just more aggressive way to go get what you want.
Right.
You can't just sort of float it out there and hope people are going to catch what you mean, because that's the Japanese way, right? Reading between the line is not a very Western way of thinking, and so you'll be left behind.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's just one thing I want to jump on real quick is when I say Japan is talent short, let me just clarify really quickly. Japan has a lot of S-class or world-class talent, no questions asked, especially in healthcare. New cutting edge and incredible research is coming out of all the universities and all the biotechs present in Japan. What I mean when I say talent short is more of a population crisis. Aging population, young workforces in severe decline.
Yeah.
And so to prop that up, I think we do need an immigration of highly talented young individuals.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then again, this is a bit anecdotal, but in terms of Western business negotiation, Japanese business negotiation, or how to carry out those meetings, what I've noticed is, when I hop on a call in Japan and I'm trying to make some kind of groundwork with this Japanese company, it might be the second or third call where we actually begin to move forward, or something significant begins to happen. And up until that point, we're kind of trying to feel each other out a bit and play the polite game. What I find quite refreshing about the West, perhaps, is, you hop on a call with some, studied senior scientist in Canada doing his own biotech, just immediately, how can you help me? How can I help you? Oh, I know this person. Do you have access to that person?
Yeah.
Just like no frills attached. So that can be quite refreshing too.
Yeah.
You talk about the weather and go straight into business.
Exactly. I like that too, honestly.
Yeah. And you get to the CDA quicker too, whereas, sometimes I've had US companies tell me, oh yeah, let's meet, Daiichi or Eisai, whichever, and then well, first thing is to get the low hanging fruit. We'll get a CDA, then I'm going to talk about this.
Right.
CBA is not your low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's not the first thing that they will do. You say hello and then try to give them as much information that you can, present to them. And this person, this BD person in front of you will not be the one making any decisions today. They're going to say, I'm going to bring it back to my team and come back to you if we are interested. And it's up to you.
Which
Literally.
actually reminds me, another nuance that I've seen is obviously, even if you have a first meeting with a Japanese company, usually in a US setting, it's going to be like one-on-one with maybe a BD to BD person. If you have a meeting with a Japanese company, it's going to be like you alone as the BD of the Western, and there will be like 5 or 6 from the Japanese counterpart.
Yep.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that.
Yeah, I have that quite often. Meet client X, meet client Y. Just like, all right, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, let's meet at this place at like 1 p.m. tomorrow. Get to the meeting room. There's like 6 people from that company there, and then just little me. So I think that can be a bit intimidating if you're not used to it, but it very quickly becomes quite natural.
Yeah.
So let me dig a little bit more for what Ibrahim said, from the Japanese perspective outward. I'm thinking one of the biggest gaps that we have in Japan, and also to a good degree in the US, is this chasm just from the university to like the commercial side, like the startup. This piece, the TLO covered portion. I'm thinking, how if I wanted to bring a Japanese university technology straight out to the US and meet US investors or pharma, they have, of course, no money.
Right.
How would you do it? Well, what's any advice you got? Because like you said, there's so many technologies that are like dying in the university that if only we could find a way for it to get more exposure to the global environment and not just within Japan.
Right. What I would advise, honestly, you can summarize it in like one line. Get them on the phone with me. Sorry, I know that sounds really overconfident. What I'm trying to say is, I've been in this situation many different times. Like in October, for example, I'm going to Kyoto University. I'll just be giving some kind of a career lecture there, which is quite nice. But off the back of that as well, I'm going to be meeting a few professors with their own basic research in drug seeds, or I guess pre-seed research that they want to turn into biotech companies. So through my work in recruitment and then a bit of fundraising as well, and my own VC connections, for example, I will be able to help these professors to begin making their own biotech companies. As part of BioCommunity Kansai as well, I've helped them to establish a framework and kind of their own little system to also create biotech companies in Japan. So what I would say is, people in academia, especially young professors and young researchers with cutting edge technology and great ideas, are very open-minded compared to, I guess, the rest of the Japanese healthcare market, which might be a bit more jaded. And I think there's definitely an openness and desire to work with either American investors, American researchers, and for global collaboration as well. One plus side of academia is incredibly open-minded, which is something I love about academia. And again, this is just going to be a shameless self-plug, but why I said get on the phone with me, in my spare time, like outside of work, I do a bit of consulting with a few biotechs in Japan who are looking to either move their operation completely across to the US or get investment from the US as well. So I'd say at this point, I'm definitely a seasoned veteran on this matter, and I can probably connect the dots quite easily. So that is why I was saying, just talk to me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. If we come up with some of these anken, these little projects, or we know who to call. By the way, do you know Bullpen? Are you familiar with a online community called Bullpen?
I just signed up last week.
There you go. Yeah, you would be a star in that community. Every time I talk about Japan, people, people listen a lot more than before, I guess, because of the current environment. And I talk about AMED and so it's alternative funding sources. The ears perk up. They're much more open now, I guess. Even though Japan's like a complete black box for many of these companies, they're trying everything they can to find new leads, new ways to survive this this current environment.
Right. I think we can definitely collaborate on that as well, Tetsu, because I know do a lot of work in bullpen. So
yeah. I mean, I'll be on the panel 2 days from now.
Oh, nice! I'll be watching.
Oh, great! Give you a shout out.
Oh, please do.
Nice.
Wow, this whole call has just been us shamelessly self-advertising. I'm joking.
It's a way to feature some talents in Japan for us because you can have a good offering, but if you don't, get connected to the market, right? So it's important. It's important. You feel the need. You feel this very important need in Japan, and so it's important to get yourself out there.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, it's not that easy to find people like us, I think. Even if we were to count all of us in the world, it's probably not a big number. So unless we speak up, you're not going to find us. So I don't think there's much shamelessness here, to be honest.
Sorry, please just excuse my British humor. I appreciate the patience.
The need is huge.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it.
Self-debasing jokes aside, absolutely, I kind of always tell this story, but when I first got into the healthcare market in Japan, I could kind of feel some kind of financial and economic potential. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And over the years, as I've gotten more and more deeply embedded into the market, I've developed a much more clearer picture of that. And it literally is just global collaboration and crossover between Japan and the US.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And, we can go to the other extreme and go, obviously we have to be humble about things. But there is the languages, the culture, and then there's always the science and the business, right? We need people who have that interdisciplinary, aerial way of thinking, and not be afraid of crossing the chasm to the other side and learn new things and try to contribute that way and become more and more of a well-rounded individual. My whole career was basically research and development, so the R&D side of everything until I left my last company running clinical studies, and I started my own thing. So I'm still running clinical studies for 2 clients in Japan, but half of my time I'm actually jumping into business development, and this is new to me. Like, my network is not business development people; it's mostly the research and the clinical development people. But now I'm slowly filling the gaps in my network. I'm reaching many new companies that I've never heard of before. These smaller companies, and these companies, obviously they're very resource constrained, so they don't have the money to hire an expert in every domain.
Right.
Sometimes I'm able to fill a hole where I could play 2-3 roles at the same time. And I think many more people who do this kind of more interdisciplinary career development will become more and more important, I think.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think what I've kind of seen in healthcare specifically is, top tier scientists are a force to be reckoned with, and top tier healthcare businessmen also a force to be recognized. But I think the real standout people, or people that I admire a lot, are probably the people kind of navigating both worlds, either scientists that have developed the business acumen, or businessmen that have delved really deep into the science. I think when you get to that point where you can understand all the science like a biotech company is carrying out, but then you can also kind of coach them on a business front, give them advice, consult, and make their science more marketable or profitable or appealing to investors. I think that's where a lot of innovation starts to come out, and where a lot of huge things for, I guess, human healthcare begin. And I think all three of us really do hit that niche, which is quite nice.
Indeed. I think it comes down to communication skills, not
Right.
just the language, but in terms of how to get your idea out of your head and across to the other person in front of you. That's communication skills, and I think you can be a 10 on 10 in terms of science, let's say,
Right.
and be a 3 on 10 in the communication skills, and you'll be perceived as a 3 on 10. Whereas another guy who's only a 5 on 10 in the skills can transmit that on a 4 on 10. He's still ahead of you because he's perceived as a 4 and not a 3.
That's exactly it.
Definitely, yeah.
So
I think.
all right, and there you go. It's 7:46 my time, 8:46 in Japan. And how did we do on our goal to keep it within 30 minutes today?
45, only 50% off target. Totally fine.
It's okay. We had fun. Just a few small topics, as usual, blows up into a great discussion. I really love what we talked about today. Thank you for your expertise and your experience.
Thank you.
Likewise, thank you for your time. It's been lovely.
Yeah. So we didn't have any questions today, but anybody watching this, we'd appreciate you sharing and commenting. Ask us questions. We'll pick up the comments after. And next week, we'll continue this discussion on business development. I do have my friend Hélène Moore from Montreal. She's going to be with us today, next week, because she also has a good part of her life in Japan, and she's also quite versed in the business development world in Europe also. So we're going to another level again. So thank you so much, Zane. Thank you, Ibrahim.
Thanks, Zane.
Thank you both.
Few
Appreciate
days.
it.
And we'll say goodbye to everybody. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. All right. Bye, everyone.